Hi and welcome to Cruising for Families. We're super excited because we are getting ready to go on Sky Princess. And so I've started to pack and I'm going to share with you my top tips for what to pack when going on a cruise with children. So the very first thing that I always pack is a bag or a holdall. So if your children are anything like mine, they want to spend a lot of time around the pool areas when on a cruise ship, which means you'll be carrying towels and other things around with you. So make sure you're prepared and have something with you where you can dump all of that in and make it easier to walk around, so you're not having to constantly go backwards and forwards to your cabin. So that is top item number one. Now, because they're going to be spending a lot of time in the pool, you can't take inflatables usually like you can on other pool-based holidays, but you can take some toys. So I always pack some sinkies or some balls or something like that so that the children can enjoy their time at the swimming pool. On the Sky Princess, there aren't water slides or splash parks or anything like that. So having a few toys is absolutely key so they can enjoy their pool time that little bit more. So they will be coming along with us. Now, a lot of the pools on cruise ships are actually saltwater based, or if not, they're going to be chlorinated. So one thing that the kids always need is goggles, so that they're not complaining that their eyes are hurting when they're going swimming on the cruise ships or if there's splash parks and things like that. So again, another top tip, make sure you pack the goggles. It is something you can usually buy when you're on board, but you don't want to be paying that premium price for something that you can pack from home. Now stay tuned because I'm going to be sharing a couple of top tips around how to pack and not just what to pack. So stay tuned to the end for that, and make sure you subscribe so you can see how we got on our Sky Princess tour. Now, the next thing that I think is an absolute must to bring is something to hold your key cards with. So we've been on cruises before, we've used lanyards. The kids always want their own lanyard to hold their own passes with. On this particular cruise, because it's Sky and one of the Princess cruises, we get a medallion, we don't get the key card. So I've pre-ordered some funky looking holders for the children so that they've already got access to their medallion as soon as they're on board. Otherwise, you are likely to get dragged into the gift shop to buy something when you're on board. Ideal to buy it in advance, especially if your kids are into certain characters and things like that. You can get all sorts of different branded lanyards very cheaply from online shops, and also a whole variety of medallion accessories as well. So make sure you get those before you board the ship. The next item is absolutely key, especially if you don't have a drinks package. If you do have a drinks package, you are likely to be able to get bottles of water to take back to your room or take on excursions wherever you want to. However, if you haven't got that drinks package, then you will be needing water bottles. So you can go to the buffet and use the little cups that they provide, put the water into the cups and then tip it into the water bottle. We found that when we haven't taken out the package, these are really, really great because every time we walk anywhere near the buffet, we just stop, fill up our water bottles, and then we've got those for whether we're walking around the ship, at the pool. If we want to go on excursions, we've always got water handy, and we make sure we fill them up before we go back to our cabin in the evening. So if the children want to drink in the middle of the night or when they wake up in the morning, we have got that to hand. So absolutely key. Remember to take your water bottle. Next up, I always take some breakfast items and some juice. Now you might be thinking, why am I taking that with me when I'm going on a cruise? The whole point is that there's loads of restaurants, loads of food, and people roll off of a cruise ship. However, I like to bring these with us because quite often the children will either wake up early and we're not quite ready to get out of the cabin and start moving around yet. So they'll have something to eat and drink when we're in the cabin. So that's really, really handy. Also, maybe they've had a slightly later night, they're enjoying some of the entertainment, and you don't wake up in time for breakfast. So again, having something readily available in your cabin just means that you're not having to rush around and leave when you're not quite ready to do so. and it keeps the children happy. Also, it might be that they want a quick snack before going to bed or something like that. Now, on most cruises, you will get a fridge. Sometimes it's stocked as a minibar. Usually you can ask for that to be emptied so that you can put your own things in there. And particularly when it comes to soft drinks, they don't mind you bringing those on board. Slightly different if it's alcoholic beverages, so you do need to check the cruise company policy on those. With a similar sort of theme to the last items, I also will take a plastic container and some small food bags with me. Again, you think that's a very strange item to be taken onto a cruise ship, but it's quite handy to walk past all of the cafes or the buffet, pick up a few items. If you're going on an excursion maybe, then you've got those readily available for you, or to take back to the room, so that if you're having a lazy afternoon watching a movie in the cabin, or just before bed, if one of the children wants a snack, you've always got something there handy. So it just makes it a bit easier than trying to carry plates backwards and forwards to the buffet, to your cabin, etc. So being prepared and coming with a couple of these just makes life that little bit easier. And it means that if you're going out and about on an excursion, nothing's going to get squished when it's in your backpack. Now, the next item is something to keep your children entertained. I like these little games and things that you quite often get free with meals that you purchase from fast food restaurants. Having those in your pocket when you are maybe at a bar enjoying a drink, or at dinner waiting for the food to arrive, just means that you're not being nagged and distracted by the children, and it keeps them entertained. Also, being on a cruise ship, it's a great opportunity to play some family games and spend some quality time together. Remember, unless you've bought a Wi-Fi package, you're not going to have access to the internet unless you are in port. So being able to use devices and things can be that more restrictive, or quite expensive if you are going to buy the Wi-Fi package. So having some games, maybe some colouring in, something like that you can just pop into your handbag, ready for the children, is an absolute must. So I mentioned devices. A lot of children nowadays, including our own, do have tablets and things that they want to play games on. Quite often, and particularly if the ship is slightly older, there aren't many plug sockets within the room. There might not be USB cables, etc. So I always find it's important to travel with something like this. You can see all I need is one plug socket, but I can charge up multiple devices at the same time. Packing this in advance is really, really helpful. They are expensive if you forget and want to buy them on a cruise ship. In terms of the adapters, you can check with your cruise line what type of sockets there are in the cabin. We're going on Sky Princess. I know that there's European and US style sockets, so I'll bring the right adapters for this so that I can charge it up in the room. If you do forget to take the right adapter, do ask your cabin steward. They normally keep spares and are happy to lend those to you. So make sure if you're taking devices for the children, you've got something to charge it up with. So on the last cruise we went on, we had constant noise in our cabin caused by the fact that our youngest child would not sleep without some kind of light. And the only way that we found to get around that was to pop the light on in the bathroom and leave the bathroom door open. Unfortunately, there was a constant extractor fan noise that we couldn't stop, which meant that we had that throughout the cabin when we were trying to sleep. So this time round, I found these little nifty things, a little pull on, pull off LED light. You can get them online. I actually bought this in a garden centre, and I thought they would be great for the children to have when they're on their bunk beds, so that they've each got a little light. Now, I've teamed that with one of these. You've probably seen on other reviews a lot of people talking about the fact that the walls in the cabin are quite often magnetic. To get little magnetic hooks, the idea is I'm going to pop that on there. It should stick to the wall, and then when we're in the cabin, the children can turn it off and on. That alone is probably going to provide them with quite a lot of entertainment, playing with their little light switches, but it also means that they will sleep better at night if your children are like mine and they like that little bit of night light in the evening. Probably also helpful if anybody wants to get up in the middle of the night and use the facilities, there's a little light there for them. Another thing that you might want to bring on board, I mentioned earlier the breakfast items, is just some other snacks, particularly if your children have particular favourites, so some little chocolate bars, maybe some chewy sweets that they might want to bring on board. Quite often you can buy all of these things in the shops on board, but you might be paying a premium and they might not necessarily have the things that your children are going to eat. So any snacks or anything like that that you know your children are going to love and perhaps be a bit more fussy with in terms of certain brands and things like that, pack them, bring them on board. There's usually no restrictions, but do check with your specific cruise line if there are any restrictions on the cruise that you are going on. So the final item that I always pack when traveling with children, and it is an absolute must, is medicine. So most parents know to carry around some form of medicine with them, but quite often forget that when we're going on holiday. I've been on a cruise ship before with a mum running around looking for somebody who might have some paracetamol because her daughter had a temperature. It was a sea day. They didn't want to necessarily have the expense of going to the onboard doctor. So make sure you bring as a minimum some paracetamol, some ibuprofen that is child friendly, and any other medicines that you know that your child might need. They are on a cruise ship. There's lots of other people. They'll be mixing with other people. Their routine's going to be all changed about. So quite often that means they're more susceptible to bugs and germs. So having something on hand in the cabin ready to go just makes for an easier and stress-free sailing for everybody. At the start of the video, I mentioned that I was going to be sharing a top tip. Now, you'll remember that I said always take something to carry your pool tails and bits and bobs in, some goggles, some toys, etc. Now, what I always do when I'm packing is I pop all of the things that I might need for the pool into the bag, along with swimming shorts. And I make sure that that is accessible as soon as I board the ship. So I don't pack that in my main luggage. I have that as carry-on. So either in a little carry-on wheelie bag, or I can use that as my carry-on bag as well. That way, as soon as I board the cruise ship, we go straight to the pools and the children can enjoy themselves straight away. It's always the first thing they want to do when they go on a ship is go swimming. And if you're not prepared, then they're not going to be able to enjoy doing that. So top tip, always keep your swim stuff handy so you can go straight to the pool when you board. And there we have it. That's my top tips of things to pack when you're traveling as a family and going on a cruise. Now, do stay tuned. We're going to have some videos from Sky Princess once we've gone on that cruise. I'm going to be showing you some top tips for how to organise your cabin, as well as doing a general cruise ship tour, but specifically focused with families in mind. So do subscribe and watch out for that video. Thank you for watching.